Have you ever been betrayed by the very company you helped build from the ground up? Imagine dedicating 5 years of your life to developing revolutionary technology, only to be kicked to the curb right before payday. That's exactly what happened to me. But instead of walking away with my tail between my legs, I executed what Bloomberg later called the most sophisticated patent freeze in Silicon Valley history. Stay until the end to find out how I legally paralyzed a billion-dollar company's core technology in 42 countries just days before their IPO, and what happened when their CEO came begging at my door. Welcome to Dismissal Diaries, where we share real stories of corporate betrayal and the sweet, sometimes unexpected consequences that followed. Before we dive into how I brought a tech giant to its knees, using nothing but legal paperwork, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more stories of workplace justice that will make your own bad boss stories seem tame in comparison. It all started back in 2018. I had just finished my PhD in computational materials science at MIT and was hungry to apply my research to something that could actually change the world. You see, I had developed a novel algorithm that could predict material stability at the atomic level, something that could revolutionize battery technology for renewable energy storage. I still remember the day Jake Reynolds, the charismatic CEO of EnergySphere, approached me after a conference presentation. "What you've built could solve our biggest technical roadblock," he said, his eyes gleaming with that distinctive Silicon Valley optimism that makes you believe anything is possible. "We're working on grid-scale energy storage that could make fossil fuels obsolete, and your algorithm is the missing piece." 2 weeks later, I was employee number 23 at EnergySphere, with equity that, on paper, would be worth millions if the company succeeded. My contract included standard IP assignment clauses, but with one critical modification I had insisted on. Any patents filed under my name would require my ongoing signature verification every 18 months. My lawyer thought it was an unusual request, but the company didn't bat an eye. Why would they? No one plans for a divorce when they're still in the honeymoon phase. For the next 5 years, I poured everything into developing what we eventually called the Quantum Stability Matrix, or QSM. This wasn't just code. It was a breakthrough approach that combined quantum computing principles with material science to predict how atomic structures would behave over decades, not just hours or days. The implications were enormous. Batteries that wouldn't degrade for 50 years, energy storage systems that could efficiently capture and release power from intermittent sources like wind and solar. The technical challenges were immense. I can't tell you how many nights I slept on the office couch, debugging algorithms until my eyes burned. There was the time our first prototype physically melted during a demonstration for investors, or the 3 months we spent chasing a mathematical error that turned out to be a simple misplaced decimal point. But through it all, we persevered. The team grew, the technology matured, and by year 4 we had something revolutionary. Our first field test was at a small solar farm in Arizona. When our storage system maintained 98% efficiency after 6 months, unheard of in the industry, we knew we had something special. Investors started circling. What had begun as a $7 million seed round company was now being valued at over $2 billion. The IPO whispers began. Now, I should pause here to mention Sarah Chen, our chief legal officer. Sarah was brilliant. Harvard Law, experience at the patent office, the whole package. About 2 years in, she had insisted we file patents in every major market globally. "Your algorithm isn't just valuable in the US," she explained. "We need to protect this internationally before someone else figures it out." Over the next 3 years, we filed patents in 42 countries, from Japan to Brazil, Australia to Germany. Each one listed me as the primary inventor, with my verification signature required periodically according to my contract. Everything was going perfectly, until it wasn't. The shift happened gradually, then suddenly, isn't that how these stories always go? First came the executive retreats I wasn't invited to. Then the technical meetings that mysteriously disappeared from my calendar. Reynolds started bringing in advisors who seemed more interested in how to explain our technology to Wall Street than understanding how it actually worked. I confronted Jake during a rare moment when I caught him alone in the office kitchen. "What's going on? I'm being sidelined from my own technology." His response was corporate smoothness, personified. "We're just streamlining communication channels for the IPO process. You know how these bankers are. They get confused if too many people are in the room. Don't worry about it." But I did worry, and my worries proved justified when Maria from HR called me into a conference room on a rainy Tuesday morning. The room already contained Jake, two lawyers I'd never seen before, and our now CFO Trevor, who avoided eye contact completely. "We're restructuring the technical division," Jake began, his voice stripped of the warmth that had convinced me to join years earlier. "As we prepare to go public, we need to ensure our organization reflects the mature company we've become." I'll spare you the corporate doublespeak that followed, but the bottom line was clear. I was being let go, effective immediately. My 5 years of 70-hour weeks, of solved problems and breakthrough innovations, were being ended with a severance package that amounted to 3 months' salary and equity that would only vest if I signed away additional rights to any related intellectual property. When I asked about my unvested shares, the ones that would be worth millions after the IPO that was reportedly just 6 weeks away, Jake had the audacity to look sympathetic. "Unfortunately, those are forfeit according to your employment agreement. But we're adding a $20,000 signing bonus to your severance if you sign today." I didn't sign. Instead, I collected my personal items under the watchful eye of security, handed in my badge, and walked out into the rain without an umbrella. 5 years of my life, my groundbreaking research, all of it taken away 6 weeks before it would have made me financially set for life. That night, drowning my sorrows at a bar downtown, I received a text from Sarah, the CLO who had left the company 6 months earlier for reasons that now seemed obvious. "Call me," it read. "There's something you should know." Over breakfast the next morning, Sarah laid it out. "They're pushing everyone with significant equity out before the IPO. It's not just you. 3 other early employees got the same treatment last month. Jake and the new executive team want to consolidate ownership. Classic pre-IPO move, but particularly ruthless in this case." "What can I do?" I asked, feeling helpless. "My contract says my equity is gone." Sarah's smile was small but fierce. "Remember that signature verification clause in your contract, the one for patents? When was the last time you signed the verification forms?" I thought back. "About 7 months ago. They're due again in," I counted mentally, "about 5 weeks." 5 weeks, Sarah repeated, right before the IPO. She pulled out her laptop and showed me the language in my contract, which she had helped draft years earlier. "The patents require your signature to remain enforceable. If you don't provide that signature by the deadline, the patents enter what's legally termed a frozen state. They're not invalid, but they can't be enforced until the verification issue is resolved. And without enforceable patents," I began, seeing where this was headed. "Without enforceable patents, EnergySphere can't guarantee exclusive rights to the technology that their entire multi-billion-dollar valuation is built upon," Sarah finished. "No investment bank would allow the IPO to proceed with that level of legal uncertainty hanging over the core technology." For the first time since being escorted out of the building, I felt a surge of something other than despair. "So I just do nothing?" "You do nothing," Sarah confirmed, "and you don't tell them you're doing nothing. Let them figure it out at the last minute." And that's exactly what I did. I waited. I ignored calls from unknown numbers. I deleted emails from EnergySphere without reading them. When a junior lawyer from the company finally showed up at my apartment 2 weeks later with verification forms, I politely declined to sign anything without my lawyer present, and mentioned that my lawyer was unfortunately on vacation for the next month. The panic set in at EnergySphere about a week before the IPO was scheduled. That's when the real call started. From Jake, from board members, eventually from their investment bankers. The message was always the same. I needed to sign the patent verifications immediately, or I was putting the company at serious risk. Not one of them mentioned that they had fired me weeks earlier, right before I would have vested millions in equity. 3 days before the IPO, Jake Reynolds himself showed up at my door. The man who had built a reputation as the smooth-talking energy revolutionary looked like he hadn't slept in days. "You have to sign the verifications," he said, not even bothering with pleasantries. "Do you understand what's at stake here?" "I do understand," I replied calmly. "I understand exactly what's at stake. I invented the technology that your entire company is built on. I spent 5 years perfecting it. And 6 weeks before I would have been compensated fairly for that work, you fired me and took away my equity. It was a business decision," he said, his voice strained. "Nothing personal." I couldn't help but laugh at that. "And this is also a business decision, Jake. Nothing personal." What followed was a negotiation that would have made Sun Tzu proud. I had leverage, immense leverage, and we both knew it. By the end of that day, I had a new agreement, full restoration of my equity, now worth even more given the IPO pricing had been finalized, a seat on the technical advisory board, royalties on all applications of my algorithm, and a formal apology to be included in the company records. Only then did I sign the patent verifications, just 24 hours before they would have automatically entered a frozen state in 42 countries simultaneously. The IPO proceeded as planned. EnergySphere's stock jumped 67% on the first day of trading. My equity was worth $23 million by closing bell. The technology we developed is now being implemented in energy storage systems across the world, potentially saving billions of tons of carbon emissions over the coming decades. But the most satisfying moment came 6 months later, at the first board meeting I attended as an advisor. Jake Reynolds, still CEO, but now answering to public market shareholders, had to sit silently as I presented the next iteration of the algorithm, an improvement that promised even greater efficiency. The same algorithm he had tried to take from me was now something he had to publicly praise. Here's what I learned from this experience. In the world of high-stakes technology and venture capital, your greatest protection isn't just legal documents. It's understanding the precise leverage points in those documents. Most people in my position would have walked away defeated, never realizing they held the power to bring a billion-dollar company to its knees. I'm not suggesting everyone should freeze patents across 42 countries when they're wronged, but I am suggesting that you understand your worth, recognize your leverage, and never let anyone convince you to accept less than what you've earned. So that's how I went from being escorted out of a building by security to owning $23 million in stock and securing my rightful place in the company I helped build. All because I understood one crucial clause in my employment contract that gave me power when I needed it most. What about you? Have you ever been pushed out of a company you helped build? Or have you found clever ways to stand up for yourself when corporate forces tried to take advantage of you? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one of them and love hearing your stories. If you enjoyed this corporate justice story, make sure to subscribe to Dismissal Diaries for new videos every week featuring people who turn the tables on toxic workplaces. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that might teach you how to protect yourself in your own career. Thanks for watching, and remember, Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's making sure those who wronged you need to acknowledge your success. See you in the next video.